Three things are happening to your garlic right now in May. Most gardeners have no idea any of them are occurring. And by the time July comes and the bulbs come out of the ground, it is too late to do anything about it. I am not talking about pests. I am not talking about disease. I am talking about three completely normal things that look absolutely fine from the outside, but are quietly deciding the size of your harvest while you walk past the bed feeling good about yourself. I pulled my garlic 2 summers ago, convinced I had done everything right. The bed looked perfect all season. Clean, tall, green, well-watered. I felt good every time I walked past it. Then July came and I reached into the soil and started lifting bulbs. Half of them were the size of a golf ball. Small, tight, disappointing. I stood there genuinely confused because nothing had gone wrong that I could see. And that was exactly the problem. What was going wrong had been invisible. It was happening underground, in May, while I was out there feeling like a competent gardener. What I figured out after that season changed how I grow garlic entirely. And the first thing I learned is something that is growing on your hardneck plants right now, this week. And most people either ignore it or think it looks interesting. If you deal with it today, you will see the difference in July. If you leave it another week, you are already losing ground. That thing is the scape, that curling green stem growing from the center of the plant right now. Most people see it and leave it. I left mine for 2 full seasons. Here is what that cost me. The scape is the garlic plant trying to flower and produce seed. The moment the plant commits to that process, it starts pulling energy away from the bulb underground. And the bulb is doing the most important work of the entire season right now. It is dividing into cloves, swelling, building size. But now it is competing with a flowering structure above ground that the plant is treating as a priority. Every single day that scape stays on the plant is a day the bulb gets slightly less of what it needs to reach its full size. When you remove it, snap or cut it cleanly right at the base where it emerges from the leaves, you send everything the plant has back down into the bulb. Gardeners who do this consistently pull bulbs that are noticeably larger than bulbs from plants where the scape was left on. In a good season, the difference is something you feel immediately in your hand when you lift them. Now here is something most people do not know. Those scapes are genuinely delicious. They taste like mild garlic. They are tender. You can chop them into pasta, stir fries, omelets, anything you would normally cook with garlic. So you are not wasting anything. You are getting a second harvest out of the same bed weeks before the main bulbs come up. Remove the scapes as soon as they appear, and you immediately get 2 things instead of 1. That single action is probably the highest return thing you can do in your garden this week. The second mistake is one I see constantly, and it frustrates me because it is completely invisible until harvest day when it is too late to fix anything. It is about fertilizer, but not in the direction most people expect. Most gardeners either do not feed their garlic in May at all, or they reach for whatever general purpose feed they have been using all season. Both of those approaches are quietly costing yield, and here is why. Earlier in the season, back in February and March, the garlic plant needed nitrogen. Nitrogen drives leaf growth, and leaf growth in the early months builds the engine that powers everything else. But by May, that phase is finished. The leaves are tall enough. They have done their job. What the plant needs now is potassium. Potassium is what drives the movement of sugars and nutrients down into the developing bulb. It is what helps the cloves swell and fill out and pack themselves tightly inside the wrapper. A plant that gets the right potassium support in May produces heavier, more densely packed bulbs than one that does not. This is not a small detail. It is the difference between a bulb that feels solid and heavy in your hand and one that feels light and a little hollow when you pull it. If you go out right now and give your garlic a high nitrogen feed, you are working directly against yourself. You will push more leaf growth at exactly the moment when the plant needs to be sending everything downward into the bulb. The leaves do not need to get any taller. The bulb needs to get bigger. A simple way to support this without overcomplicating anything is to use wood ash if you have it, or a sulfate of potash applied around the base of the plants and watered in well. Do it once now, and once more in about 3 weeks. That window between mid-May and early June is when potassium makes the most difference. After that, the bulbs are approaching their final size and the opportunity has passed. And stop adding fresh compost or any high nitrogen organic material to the bed right now. It seems like you are doing something good. You are feeding the soil, giving the plants a boost. But you are pushing the plant in exactly the wrong direction at exactly the wrong moment in the season. The third mistake is the hardest one to catch because everything still looks perfectly healthy while it is happening. It is about watering, specifically about watering too much through the second half of May. Most gardeners water on a regular schedule. Every few days, keep the soil moist. Do not let the plants dry out. And for the first part of the season, that is completely reasonable. But as May progresses and the bulbs are swelling, continuing that same watering rate starts to work against you in two important ways. First, consistently wet soil around the developing bulbs increases the risk of the outer wrappers not forming properly. Those papery layers around the outside of the bulb are not just packaging. They protect the cloves and determine how well the garlic stores after harvest. Bulbs that have been sitting in wet conditions through May often cure poorly. The wrappers stay soft instead of going dry and papery. The garlic does not store as long. You go to reach for a bulb in October and it has already started to go off. Second, and this genuinely surprised me when I first understood it, a slight reduction in watering through the second half of May actually signals the plant to put its final energy into the bulb, rather than continuing to push leaf growth. A gentle dry down tells the plant the season is moving toward its end, and it is time to finish the job underground. This is not about stressing the plant severely. It is about working with the natural cycle rather than accidentally overriding it with good intentions and a garden hose. The practical change is simple. If you have been watering every 3 days, move to every 5 or 6 days through the second half of May, unless you are in an unusually hot dry spell. Before you water, push your finger into the soil a few centimeters. If there is still moisture there, wait one more day. The plants are more resilient than you think at this stage, and a little less water is almost always better than a little too much. There is one more thing I want to mention before I finish, and it is not glamorous, but it matters more than most people realize. Weeding. Everyone knows weeds are bad, but the reason it is specifically critical in May is that the bulbs are in direct competition for potassium and other minerals in the soil right now during the most active phase of bulb development. Garlic is not an aggressive competitor. It will not outfight a healthy weed for nutrients. The weed wins quietly, and the bulb pays the price in July when you pull it out of the ground wondering what went wrong. Get into that bed and clear it properly. Not just the large visible weeds, but the small ones coming through between the plants. A clean bed in May gives your garlic the best possible access to everything it needs during these final critical weeks. It takes maybe 30 minutes, and the return on that time shows up clearly at harvest. So here's the complete list. Remove the scapes the moment they appear. Switch your feed from nitrogen to potassium right now. Ease back on watering through the second half of May. Keep the bed clear of weeds. That is it. 4 things. None of them complicated, none of them expensive. But the gardener who does all 4 of these things and the gardener who does none of them are going to pull very different harvests in July from plants that went into the ground at the same time in the same kind of soil. The garlic has been in the ground since autumn. It survived winter. It pushed through spring. It has been working toward this moment for months. These next few weeks in May are not a passive waiting period. They are the moment when everything gets decided. The plant has done most of the work already. What it needs from you right now is not more effort. It needs the right effort, and now you know exactly what that looks like. Go check your bed today. If those scapes are curling, take them off right now before you do anything else. Everything else can wait. That cannot.